You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, we haven't spoken to our old friend for some time. He's not a regular, he's a semi-regular, and we love chatting to him because he's usually got something to say. We've had a couple of chats over the distance and people have enjoyed him, so he's reluctantly decided to join us on You Cannot Be Serious. It's our old China, the man about town, Tony Two Phones Sheehan. Tony, welcome.
Sam, thank you. I think that's the best introduction I've ever received.
Well, so if you were introducing yourself, besides saying you're a great man and you've achieved a lot in life, how would you introduce yourself?
No, I think you took the words right out of my mouth, Sam. I don't need to add anything to that.
Well, now, usually why we like to ring you is just to get your take on how things are travelling in the city of Melbourne. Are you in Melbourne as we speak?
No, I've actually migrated back north to Sydney where the sunshine is, and torrential rain apparently happens.
So you're now domiciled in Sydney?
I am domiciled in Sydney, yes. Much better place.
Than Melbourne?
Than most cities. It's actually, Sam, I mean, I know I'm not sure whether you do like Sydney, but it has everything that Melbourne doesn't.
Why wouldn't I like Sydney? I like them all. Perth, I like Adelaide, Brisbane. Tell me this, I can understand why there might be a small exodus of people out of Melbourne. Someone said I gave it a bag and I was treacherous. That means I'm a traitor to Melbourne. I am a traitor to Melbourne at the minute until it improves. It is turned itself into a shithole, Melbourne, and I have no problem saying that. We hope it'll come good. But if you want me to start, I've already had a go at what's going on in Melbourne. So just
why don't you elaborate?
Well, I will. I just want to first of all ask you what you're doing in Sydney. What are you have a vocation up there, or are you on furlough?
No, a vocation and helping people out and working in the journalism world.
What do you mean helping people out, mate? Have you become a philanthropist?
Well, considering my bank account, yes, I'm doing a lot of work for little income.
Philanthropy. So what are you doing when you say you help people out? What, do you give them guidance? I had Wayne Carey on here last week, and he told me that I've got to go and see a life coach to be a better person. He's trying to do that himself, and I gave him full marks for that, and he said you could try and do that yourself to me.
No, but I disagree with Wayne. I think considering what you said about the Welcome to Country, I don't know whether you had looked at the Herald Sun's offering of your story, but there was some 600 likes and I think a third of that in comments.
Yes, I have no hesitation and no regret to say the Welcome to Country is a hoax, and it is gone overboard, and it is a virtuous, feigned indignation of people who are apologising for their own whiteness and for being here in the first place. We love our Aboriginal friends, our Indigenous friends. We are all Australians. Why we fly two flags above all our buildings and in offices, I have no idea. We are one people, and we should just get over whatever is going on. If you want to keep dividing the country, keep getting people who've been on the planet about half as long as me to welcome to a country that they weren't even here in when people before them came. It is a joke. There was nothing here before settlement, and everyone is enjoying the spoils of being here, and it is ridiculous, and I don't care how you construe that. That is a fact, and it is just so nonsensical, it's cringeworthy. Now, I know I go on about this every week, but why?
I agree with you.
Yeah, well, but most people do, but most people are not game to say it because they get called a racist. The most overused word in the English lexicon, racist. Racism means if you degrade, defile or decry someone, try and dominate them or think you're superior to them. Racism is about hate. I hate no one. I dislike a few people, but I hate no race of people. There's not one Indigenous person I know I dislike. I might not agree with them, and I might think they're tools at some stages of their journey, like they think of that about me, but it is just bullshit. And the longer it goes on, and the trouble is, those who are invested in the Welcome to Country are going to dig their heels in and say, we're not towing the line to the likes of people like me and most of the population. We've already had a plebiscite about yes, no vote. Anyhow, I'll go on about. I want to know what you're doing in Sydney to help people. How are you sustaining yourself?
Well, through many means. I'm copywriting. I'm still doing stuff in the journalism genre, breaking a few stories with the AFL trade period, which seems to be going a lot longer than it probably should, and providing sound advice for those in the business world.
So you're giving sound advice to people in the business world?
Yeah, well,
no, I'm not. I don't ask that as that is not a tongue-in-cheek. I'm asking you, did I hear you correctly, and how are you? What maybe you could give me some advice about. I'm retired. I'm doing nothing except this. You could perhaps tell me how I could. What would you suggest I do?
Well, you're living on a boat in Queensland. I would have thought you're actually living life pretty well at the moment.
No, well, I'm just started my journey back home to Melbourne. Me and Sue Stanley. So Sue Stanley and I, we've just docked at Mackay after 6 hours. So we're just dipped a toe in the water, so to speak, and we're on the way home. So, what do you think I should get stuck into when I get back to Melbourne?
Well, I'll tell you what you should get stuck into. What about, do you have access to News Corp's publications?
Do I download their app?
Well, or do you actually read a lot of their stories?
Only if I've got the paper. I don't download it on my phone because I don't have their. You got to subscribe to it, don't you?
Yes. You get to see the web page. But then, if you want to read the entire article, then yes, you've got to subscribe. But
no,
I have a big. Go on.
If I read anything in the Herald Sun or the Age or the Australian or any of the other publications, I have to go and buy the paper and read it in print. I can't be bothered with all the other stuff. But so if I'm having a coffee or I'm out just a little bit of leisure and I can buy the paper and read what's going on, that's where I get my news from, the papers.
Okay, now I've got one for you. Now, did you hear about that shocking incident in Melbourne, I think a few nights back, where that gentleman, Andrew Truman, the 44-year-old, was bashed to death on Elizabeth Street in the city?
Yes, I did.
Well, how disgraceful was it of the mass media that we've put, disgraceful is probably the wrong word, but we've put a Lord Mayor aspirant, I think her name is Erin Deering,
yep,
and 3 other models as the main story on the front page of the Herald Sun when a 44-year-old bloke was bashed to death by a piece of shit called Todd Menegaldo, and he's now on the run. Why aren't we making more of this instead of worrying about bike lanes in Elizabeth Street and having traffic go through there? Because the place has turned into a crime hotspot. Now people are losing their lives.
Yes, and these are the publications that if you highlight or talk about grid girls or good-looking women or good-looking men for that case, but good-looking women, they say you're being sexist and you're being objectifying women, and yet they can't fall over themselves to put good-looking broads on the paper, scantily clad at the races with hardly wearing anything, half pissed. They bang them on the front of the paper. If you've just worked out that the press are hypocritical, Tony, you might be part of it.
Well, I probably could be, Sam, but I was shocked that how not a lot has been made of this gentleman's death. He was hit over the head 4 times by this prick Todd Menegaldo, who's a known criminal to the police, and then we don't expose this piece of shit so that the world can be a safer place, which then translates into why are we putting bike lanes in the city? Because they're not used, and it's creating a crime hotspot in the sea. But then people are reluctant to go in there.
Well, Tony, you just asked me when I said Melbourne's turning itself in just in recent times, since maybe the Andrews government has been in power. That I said it's turned itself into a shithole. That would be one reason. That law and order has was all right for the government to send out the police force and the armed assailants, the armed keepers of the law when people were walking 3 abreast instead of 2 abreast during COVID and weren't going 15 kilometres out of their home address and being lumbered in the car if you're 16 kilometres out of your address. Then the government send their police force out. But that is a classic case. There was another woman lost her leg by a P-plated bike rider. Now, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that let's hope that they started a GoFundMe page for that woman who was out walking a dog. Now, the young lad who was riding the bike, I'm making no aspersions as to what was wrong with him, but I'm just saying we had, did you see that this bloke in a car rammed 3 police cars while there were 6 coppers standing round? Did you see that in Melbourne?
I did. Yes, I did.
So tell me this, Tony, if you've got a police force and there's a bloke in look like a pretty hot GT Holden or GTS or whatever, I don't know what it was, but he rammed one police car, then backed into the other and just kept ramming it until he made a U-turn out. And the police, I'm not sure if anyone them were carrying. Would it be a good idea if maybe someone took a Glock or a Smith & Wesson out of their holster and shot the tyres out of the car, or shot something, not him necessarily, unless he got out of the car and charged him, then shoot him in the groin or the legs? What is the point of having police with their uniforms on, you know, and this DEI, the diversity, equity and inclusion thing? If you've got small men and small women in the police force who do absolutely nothing when it's all said, they're good people, but they why wouldn't they just take issue with someone ramming 3 police cars, which you and I, well, you don't because you're in Melbourne, you're in Sydney now, we indirectly pay for because the government-funded police force, we just buy them new cars when felons crash them. Why wouldn't someone take a gun out and shoot the tyres out? He was right in front of them doing it, and it said, "Man flees after ramming police." Well, how can that happen?
Well, look, I totally agree with this, but do we want to turn into the Wild West of America where guns suddenly become mainstream? I think a lot of people would oppose that, and it would potentially give police too much power. But I agree with you.
Tony, I didn't say the public can go and get licensed to have handguns and any sort of gun. I said the police. They carry guns. They have since time immemorial. They carry guns. What is the point of carrying them if you can allow a piece of snot like that to ram 3 police cars and make an exit? I don't know what he did or I don't even know it was a man. I suppose it was a man. What is the point of carrying a gun? When would you use a gun then?
Well,
not to shoot the person, I mean, you could have walked up while he was ramming the police car and shot the tyre. Both the tyres, all the tyres.
Yes.
And then, when he realised he couldn't drive the car, then get the girls and boys who are on duty there just to see if they could wrestle him to the ground, which would probably be a pretty tall order, seeing as you'd probably tower over most of them.
Well, without a doubt. But you want to, as I said, you want to go down the path of the United States where guns and police are mainstream, and they think that cars are murder weapons, which we all know that they can be, so they're more inclined to shoot the suspect.
Who, the coppers?
In America they do, yes.
What do you mean they shoot the suspect? They shoot the suspect when the suspect becomes threatening to the police and they're in danger of either their life or being mortally wounded or injured. That's when they shoot them.
Yeah, I agree, but I think if this incident was in America, I think that the police would have turned around and shot the driver.
Well, I don't know about that. That is just a hypothetical. I don't think the cop. I'm not sure that they'd put the gun through the window and shoot the driver. We can't say if they would or not. I'm not suggesting the Victorian police do that. I'm suggesting the Victorian police try and maintain a bit of law and order by stopping people like that antisocial behaviour by saying we mean business, and if you're going to ram a car and drive at us and swear at us and all that, and you better be prepared for the consequences. The consequences being that we'll shoot the tyres of the car out. We won't shoot you, but we'll stop you getting away, and then we'll jump on you, and if we can, put your hands behind your back and manacle you to a fire hydrant until the big paddy wagon comes. That's what we'll try and do. Why you see that on the news and you think, God Almighty, this is a lollipop police force. Except if Dan Andrews' government has sold out the coppers to go out and arrest people for going to the supermarket more than 3 times a day during COVID or whatever.
But do you still have a gripe against the Labor government?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you?
Well, I totally agree, but I think. And as you know, I was living in Melbourne for 6 months of this year. Do you think people of Melbourne and Victoria, do you think they've got over the fact that they were the most, what was the award that they won for the most lockdown community in the world?
Well, that would be it. The most, I don't know what the award was, but if you remember not long ago, we were the world's most livable city. And that's until the Andrews government put us into debt by $200 billion, couldn't complete a Westgate Tunnel freeway and overpass and bypass and whatever that is 3 years out of date and $7 billion over budget. That is until the COVID disaster, the absolute laughingstock of the world. That is until every inquiry into the corruption and dishonesty of the Andrews government met with stonewalling at the Royal Commissions. They are a disgrace. They have dragged this city into the gutter, and I live in it.
I agree. Now, based on this, do you think Jacinta Allen should stay in power?
Not at all. Someone should remove the Labor government forthwith. The unfortunate fact of the matter is that the Labor government, Victorian Labor government, Can I hear you?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
Can you speak to me?
Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I don't know why I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you? I can hear you just vaguely, but not in the earphones.
Oh, no, I can hear you.
I can hear you now. Yep. I don't know what happened then. So the Labor government give entitlements and benefits to the police, the ambulance workers, the fire brigade, the teachers. They give them very good benefits and entitlements. The public service get a good run, and the free enterprise private sector get absolutely nothing, and they're the people that keep them in power, and they'll probably stay in power because they've got a pretty weak opposition. I see Jeff Kennett went to address a Liberal Party function, I think, and was invited to speak and stood up, and apparently some people started catcalling or interrupting him, and he said, "You're a stupid bitch" to the woman who said it, and they've gone berserk. They've gone, wow, this is misogynistic and sexist and out of order, and I wish I'd been speaking at the function and someone interrupted me after I was asked to speak. I don't mind people interjecting and asking a question, but if they start shouting out, "Stupid bitch," that would have been the platitude if I'd been there. Seriously, talk about ill-bred people.
Yes, I think the correct term he said was rude bitch, but by the way, yes, he said rude bitch.
What did I say? Stupid. Oh, yeah, well, that's right. Well, rude, well, he's toned that right down. What about stupid fucking bitch? What about that? How about that would be a good start? A stupid fucking bitch. Shut the fuck up or don't come to the meeting. And if you want to ask me a question or disagree with me, wait till I finish speaking.
Yeah, look, I agree, but don't we need context? Don't we need the other side of the story? I mean, I don't know why Jeff came out and apologised. If that's what he thought at the time, well, he has every right to say something.
He apologised, like everyone apologises, because people jump up and down and say, oh, you shouldn't have called her a rude bitch. Well, what about the rude bitch that was shouting? I wonder, did she apologise?
No, well, what about Anthony Albanese? Anthony Albanese was forced to, no, it wasn't forced, but it was recommended that he apologised because he took the piss out of a Liberal senator and said, have you got Tourette's? And then the whole world went bonkers.
Yep, mate, I tell you what, in the next Commonwealth Games, we won't see them because the Labor government will bid for the Commonwealth Games and they'll bid for $7 billion to run them, and they'll put that on as an election platform, and as soon as they get elected, they'll cancel the Games, which was what, that was just election fraud is what happened under the Andrews government. But if you ever have a Commonwealth Games or an Olympic Games in Melbourne again, we will have a gold medal for the most aggrieved person in the world, those who can whinge the most about being offended. We're living in times, as I've said this many times before, we're living in times where intelligent people are being silenced so that stupid people won't feel offended. And that's where we've got to.
Yes, I agree. Now, if we want the Labor government in Victoria out, who is running the Liberal Party in Victoria to get in? I know that's a rhetorical question, but what are they doing in the Liberal Party in that state?
Well, who's the leader of the Liberal Party as we speak?
John Pizzuto.
Right. Well, I don't know if John's out on the hustings slapping a few backs and garnering support, but I'd say Jeff Kennett was in the process of saying, stumping people up. What we need in this state is another Donald Trump. Someone who'll call it as it is and get things done rather than kowtowing to the vocal minority who run everything in this world because people let them, because people don't want to be cancelled, because they're frightened.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better. Now, what about, how is your old mate Donald going with some 20 days until the election?
Well, I'll just say this to you, Tony. If they elect that woman, the most unworthy, nonsensical, ill-performed woman who got a job, only got her job as vice president on the fact that dopey Joe Biden said we need a female woman of colour, a DEI selection, a diversity, equity and inclusion selection. That's the only reason she got her job. She is a moron. Imagine that woman going and speaking at forums internationally or giving State of the Union addresses. How the mainstream media let that go on? Because they corrupt and they're dishonest as well. And if Donald Trump doesn't get in a landslide, there is something wrong with that country. I've said this before, I half hope that she does get in and they won't know what's hit them. That will be the end of that country as we know it. Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela, they will go bang. They will just take over the whole planet and they'll push those people into the ocean.
Well, they essentially have, haven't they, through the BRICS nations, which I'm sure you're familiar with?
Absolutely familiar with it all, Tony. Now, come on, tell us what's going on up in Sydney. Who do you watch what about the draft? Don't tell me you're interested in the draft by overpaid footballers travelling from one job to another, one club to another, fudging their way through life. How does that go?
Well, for one, they're not overpaid, they're underpaid.
Are they?
And two, yes, considering for what they do, they basically control Australia for 3 days a week during football season, and we are glued to the TV, and that's basically all we do. We work our lives around it, our support, our barracking, our merchandise, and then our alcohol, which we drink. It's literally a lifelong source of amusement for so many.
And a lifelong job of employment for people who write about all these things, including yourself. What did you say they're not overpaid? What are they paid? What's the base wage for a fledgling footballer?
I think it was around $410,000 a season is the average. And
you're saying that they're not overpaid?
No. Well, what about your mate Justin Martin? Now, he was averaging for his last year $1.2 $4 million.
Yeah.
Is he overpaid or underpaid?
No, Tony. It's a supply and demand, mate. This is if you are a star and you are the main linchpin of your side and you are an absolute genius football-wise, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about, you said the average wage or the base wage for a fledgling footballer is $400,000. And if you don't think, are you serious?
Well, of course I'm serious. Wayne Carey, who was on your program last week, earns $1.4 million.
Tony, please.
1999, Sam.
Tony. Now, please, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right, I went off air there I couldn't hear you before. I'm going to repeat again. I am not speaking about the people who carry their sides, their destiny of sides rests on their shoulders, who are genuine stars and genuine champions. I'm talking about, I said to you, what is the wage of a fledgling footballer? You're going to the draft. If someone gets picked up in the draft, are you saying when they sign up for a football club to get a game that they're on $400,000 a year?
No, that's not for a starting wage. It's that's the average wage across the entire competition.
Oh, well, I didn't ask you that. I said, what's a fledgling... Tony, I said, what's a fledgling footballer get when he enters the realm of the AFL? You're at the draft. I said they were overpaid, and you're saying they're not. I said 400 grand. What is that? What is the base wage of a footballer who starts at a club if he's not sponsored or he hasn't proven himself? How much do they get? How much do they get a year? What is the bargaining, the AFL players' bargaining deal? What do they start on?
No, well, Sam, I don't have that answer for you, and I'm not about to guess. So I would have thought it'd be reasonable for a kid who's just out of school about to play AFL football. I think it's north of 180,000, depending on how many games they play and what round they are drafted.
A top 10 draft pick will receive a base salary of $130,000. Draft picks between 11 and 20, the base salary decreases by $10,000 for those between 21 and 60. So $130,000 is what someone coming out of school, out of school, gets picked up by the scouts and says, come down to this club here, and you start training, and as soon as you start and you're signed up for the list, you get 130 grand. Would you suggest someone who's 17 or 18 entering the workforce at $130,000 is not a very good salary?
No, I don't think so. They should be paid more.
I see. So what's $130,000 a week? That would be
it's about what is
it? What?
1,500 net.
50 net. No. What's 52
right.
into 130? So you don't think $1,600 a week is a reasonable salary for a lad who can just, because he can, $2.5 grand a week, you don't think is a good salary for someone who can just kick the ball and has been able to jump higher than anyone else by all the key performance indicators and all that, and get snapped up. This bloke just out of school, was going to do an apprenticeship, has a trade, probably unemployed, and is on $2,500 a week just because he becomes an AFL footballer. That is the base. You don't think that's a good salary?
No, I think it should be. No, I do not. I think it should be double. What about, say, Harley Reid, who's 19 and is looking at an enormous salary, who could be potentially the highest paid player in the history of the game? He's got mates who are tradesmen, lawyers, bankers. They're all earning in that vicinity. So why should he be any different? Sorry, what I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
Well, I'm saying that if you are earning, the kid who comes in is traded by a club and goes down to Geelong or the Bulldogs or Hawthorn, we're going to pay you $130,000 base wage, I still don't think it's enough.
So how many?
We need to move with the times.
Yes. So how many potential draftees that are going into the draft that you're across are sacrificing their job as lawyers and surgeons to go and play football? How many have given away law and the judicial bench and being a doctor or a surgeon to go and play football at 17 or 18? How many people have
very, very, very few.
And none.
Very few.
So what's Harley Reid got to do with it?
Well, because Harley Reid's, first year in, they're talking about a $20 million deal over 10 years.
So Harley Reid has played, what, one season, has he?
Yes.
For whom?
West Coast Eagles.
The West Coast Eagles, and how old is he?
18.
So Harley Reid has played one season for the West Coast Eagles, and the pundits, the scribes, you have said he is going to be the best player that's ever played.
No, I said the highest, not best. Highest paid.
Oh, wouldn't that be highest paid be commensurate with the best? Why would you pay an exorbitant salary to someone who wasn't the best?
Well, because that's just the machinations of some football clubs, but others are paid a lot higher than the best players. The GWS, for an example. There are players at clubs who have had managers who have done extraordinary deals, but they don't manage the best players in their team.
Well, you're living in an unreal world, Tony. So hang on a minute. So have you ever? Did you ever aspire? I'm not being facetious. Did you ever aspire to playing AFL football just before you took up being a very high-powered shock jock journalist?
I did until I was about maybe 16.
16, righto, so 16. So say you'd gone down and were picked up in the draft at 16 and they said, Tony Sheehan, son of the great Mike Sheehan, who we've named broadcasting rooms after, and journalist and editors' rooms, and is just bon vivant about town. Open mic, he's done more shows in the history of the world. And this is young Tone, his progeny is coming along. Tony, if you'd been picked up at 17 and they said, we'll give you $2,500 a week to come and play for Essendon or North Melbourne, just train, and we've signed you up, you wouldn't be happy with that?
Yes, but Sam, that was 20 years ago.
I beg your pardon?
That was 20 years ago. So why aren't we? Look, we're talking a lot of AFL players.
Hang on, 20 years ago. So you're saying you wouldn't have been on $2,500 20 years ago. You would have been on maybe $1,000 20 years ago.
Well, yes, but we haven't moved with the times.
Well, that's how the times work. When I started playing football, when I started playing football in the 60s, I got, this is before decimal currency, I got £10 a game, which is $20. At my first 9 games for Geelong, because they played 18 games a season, my first 9 games, they paid me £90. I had 9 red £10 notes. I brought them home and my mother said she'd never seen so much money all at once in one pile. £90 in those days would buy you a car, almost buy you a house.
Yeah.
Not quite, but nearly.
Were you one of the highest paid players in the VFL?
In the end, I was.
Yeah.
Because I deserved it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So,
I'm not sure. I've never seen his work much, Harley Reid. I'm not sure at 18 you can say that he deserves to be the highest paid player in the competition. Let's just see if he can string a couple of seasons together and get through uninjured and not get reported and not get up on charges that are antisocial and bring the club into disrepute. I'm just saying generally. I'm not talking about the boy himself. Let's just see how that goes, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I agree, and the other part being is
you don't agree.
To win the,
you don't agree.
No, in terms of Harley Reid was ineligible for the Rising Star because he bumped somebody. So that's a side issue, but I'm just telling you that you're right in terms of Harley Reid needs to string games together to prove that he is worth the amount they are predicting for his future.
Well, you just said that he's deservedly going to be the highest paid player ever at 18.
No, I didn't say deservedly. I said they were talking about that in terms of some clubs.
And you said
management.
And you said that's a good thing because they're extremely underpaid and have been forever.
Well, I don't. Well,
what else is going on in Sydney, Tone? Come on. Who have you befriended up there?
Speaking of Sydney,
yes.
Quite a few people reached out to me about your rant on social media about the Swans and their lack of accountability in the grand final.
Quite right.
Have you had any feedback about that?
Oh, no, hardly any. But would that worry me? What's the point of saying something if you're worried about the feedback? I would stand by that absolutely. Unfortunately, they've done that to me twice in 4 years. Geelong beat them by 80 points in the previous grand final in whenever that was, 4 years ago, and they did it again a couple of weeks ago, and they were a disgrace. I'm not talking about the coach. Coach has nothing to do with it once the game starts.
Yeah, yes, he does.
What's he have to do with it?
Well, then it becomes tactical about moves and who goes where and whether they lock down certain players and move players up the ground or into the fence or up the forward line so you can kick more goals to outdo the opposition.
So you think the lack of moves, I'm asking you this question because you're a football aficionado, you're saying the lack of moves and the lack of planning as the game started and drew on was accountable, the coach was accountable for the lack of performance by the Swans?
I think he was he should be accountable and partly to blame because how can you be the best team of the entire season? And I think for quite a few rounds, they were 3 games clear on top of the ladder and then get smacked by the Brisbane Lions who at round 6 and 7, there were calls for Chris Fagan to lose his job.
Yes, there were. My point exactly, Tony, that they were a disgrace, but you're saying it was the coach's fault, not the stock, not the cattle on the field at the time.
Well, they need to do something about it. What do you think Paul Roos and all the other, as you say, aficionados in and around Sydney are calling for mass change because they've been in 3 grand finals in, 12 years and have been smashed in all of them? Are
you calling for the horse to be cancelled, to be lose his job?
No, but I do think that not to lose his job, but I do think Dean Cox needs to take a significant role next season. Now, whether that's a Mick Malthouse, Nathan Buckley type scenario, well, it remains to be seen. But Dean Cox needs to be calling the shots.
Does he? Well, wasn't Dean Cox sitting beside the horse in the box on grand final day and all the other finals?
Yes, but it's also about delivering the message. Dean, unless you give somebody that role, they may not be as they may withhold some IP so that Horse remains at the top until people work out whether he's an exceptional coach or whether there needs to be change.
I see. So you're saying that Dean Cox should have an overriding role next year and the Horse should just have a subservient role as a backup to Dean?
Not subservient, but maybe
that's
more
subservient.
Power needs to be given to Dean.
That means subservient.
Well, it's probably not the word I would use, but maybe would be the mechanics behind it.
Pay second fiddle.
Yes, I know what it means. I'm just saying in terms of...
Well, how would that work? So Dean's out there, he's calling the shots, and the Horse, who is... have we sacked the Horse? We've not calling him the main coach, or we're just calling him the main coach, but he's sitting in the back row?
Yes, I think that could be actually quite good, actually.
Sitting in... so he's the head coach, but he's sitting in the back row and not to have any input as to what's going on the ground.
No, well, I wouldn't say... No, he's got to have input, but maybe just... Look, a Horse has been in the job a long time, and he's been exceptional, but maybe there's time for change.
You haven't been taking any acid while you've been up there, have you? God, fuck me.
I need some.
Well, if you get some, send us a hamper down to Melbourne. That's the only way I'll get through that city just at this minute. All right. So
are you going to join us?
Up there?
Down here. Well, you're coming down.
I'll be going past. Have you tracking square with anyone, man, woman or beast?
None of the above. Just enjoying singledom at the moment.
Singledom? Yeah. So have
Isn't that what they call it?
have you become asexual?
No, not asexual.
Well, so how are you getting it off then? How are you getting
No, I'm focusing on
not going to
other
the
aspects
crazy
of my
horse
life at
or
the
anything,
moment.
are you? Not getting people in, are you, or what?
No, but Sydney shuts after 9 o'clock, so we can't do much
Well, you get them to get an Uber over to where are you living?
in Double Bay
Double Bay. My word. Who are you with?
by myself. Are
Now-
you setting up a dating site?
No, I'm trying to see if that we can get the great Tony Sheehan, who is, as I say, I know you're trying to repair all the fences that you crashed through some years ago. We've had that discussion, and by the sounds of it, you're doing what Wayne Carey's doing. You're trying to better yourself.
I'm always trying to better myself. Yes.
Oh,
Well,
yeah?
I think, and if yes. Hey Nick, can we move on to a more substantial topic, which one I'm sure you've got great opinions on? Tell me about Hurricane Helene.
Yes.
Did
Hurricane.
you find? You go on.
I'm going to read something out about. Just go on. I'll just see. I hope I've got this here.
Well,
I'll
do you
read-
not find it funny that the people who are in charge of that country and the weather knew its intended route through Florida?
Mate, let me just find you what this person said. This is not me. I'm just hope I can find it. Just a minute. This is
Go for it, Sam.
This is Joey Curio, who is a meteorologist and a devotee of climate change. What is now Hurricane Milton this is Hurricane Milton. Went from a ordinary tropical depression at 100,005 millibars, or whatever, with winds of 30 km, up to a monster Category 5. That is an increase of maximum sustaining winds of 90. In just 12 hours alone, we have seen a drop in pressure that has never been seen. This is total insanity. The storms are rapid intensification occurs due to a growth that takes 48 hours to seed the clouds. This is not a normal organic occurrence. This is not due to climate change. This is geoengineering at its finest. And this is what's going on. They're trying to have the entire population of America, or the Rust Belt, or the not so well-to-do have dependent on the government, so that the government come up with all these social schemes and you vote them in. And mainly all the states that have suffered ravage and fire and storm damage are in the red states that would vote for Trump.
Correct, which is where I was heading to. How the hell did they know when it was coming from Mexico in Cancun, and then suddenly it managed to make its way up specifically into Tampa?
So I've said this many times, and I'm saying it again. Trump will not make the 11th of November. They'll kill him. They've had 3 attempts so far.
5th of November.
What did I say? September
11th.
November the 11th.
5th of
November the 5th. He won't get there. But if he does get there, this is what will happen. There'll either be a solar flare that blocks out all communications. There'll be another hurricane or a flood or a fire. They'll set fire to the bushland so that people can't vote. There'll be a civil. There'll be a international hacking by Russia. They'll blame it on Russia or China. International hacking, so they can't count the votes properly. Or they'll that there is some or there is some way that the election will not be upfront and legitimate. And they're working on it, but their best plan, of course, is to kill him. And when they do kill him, let's hope the person, the counterpart of the people in the opposition, go after Obama, Biden, Harris, Hillary Clinton, and Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters. Let's hope that the gun that they used to kill Trump gets turned on those people, because they are an absolute disgrace.
You are very awake for somebody who is 77 years old.
Well, I'll tell you this: before the last election, they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop fiasco, which would have people said it would have changed 6% of the vote, which would have swept Trump into power. And these are the people who are in the Obama and Biden government. These people, listen to this, I know these people off by heart. These are the people who either lied before Congress or were charged with perjury but still have their jobs. They are Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Loader, Lynch, Page, Rice, Struck, Orr, McCabe and Yates. They are 10 people who are found to have lied to Congress and have been charged with perjury about A, the Russian collusion, or B, the Hunter Biden laptop fiasco. And they work now on MSNBC, CNN. They work for the New York Times. They are the most corrupt and dishonest media. And Trump, they'll try and kill him because he calls them out, and he's absolutely correct. And he won't get there. They've had 3 goes and they'll have another go.
Oh, exactly right. And there was an allegation of a shooter in Coachella in California the other day, but I don't know, just because a bloke claimed to be a journalist and had an assault rifle in his car was necessarily going to kill him. But if it works for the mainstream media over there, so be it. But I do agree with you that the way that we have been lied to and fed a bullshit narrative by the Americans is just wrong. I mean, when people turn around and say, oh, we don't want Trump in, but they can't actually tell supporters like you and I why they dislike him, because he's a misogynist and he's had affairs with prostitutes. I mean, what about the other bloke in power now, sniffs young girls' hair and can't string a sentence together?
That is what I've said, Joe and Kamala are the most unworthy people ever to hold a job in public office, and they think it's going to be close. If it's close, it's extraordinary how anyone, no matter, I wouldn't care if it's Gavin Newsom becomes the Democratic.
Oh, no, I would.
Well, but anyone but that woman. That woman is you run out of things to say about her. You run out of nouns.
Yeah, you know, Harris and Newsom, you know where they're both from, don't you?
California?
Yes, and look at California. Los Angeles is a shadow of its former self. It's a crime-riddled town where no one wants to go to anymore.
Well, on that note, because that's become like Melbourne.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of Melbourne, I don't know what the time is like, but one I did want to get your opinion on, considering we're talking about Melbourne, Kyle Sandilands and his ratings.
Yes, how are they?
Well, I would have thought for a show that's been on air since April in Melbourne to get a 6 rating point, I think is going pretty well. I mean, I think Steve Price and Neil Mitchell have been incredibly critical of him, but what do they expect in 6 months? What, for him to be the new Ross and John?
Well, I'll never be the new Ross and John because they are the most successful breakfast broadcasters ever. So I don't know what's going on. So, Tony, I don't know.
Well, I wanted your opinion, Sam.
Well, I just don't listen. I just, not because wouldn't want to, I just don't listen to morning radio of any sort. So I can't, haven't heard their work. I know they're a bit edgy, and I know they're very successful elsewhere, but Melbourne maybe are pushing back because I don't know why Melbourne are pushing back. Tony, we can't do this any longer because I've got to speak to someone else.
Well, Sam, it's been incredibly enjoyable.
It has. You've been a breath of air. Not sure if it's fresh air, but you've been a breath of air. And it's been very good of you to join us.
Thank you. And just one final one, Sam. You and Sue setting up an email account for any dating applications.
Sue and I are not setting up an application. What? For us to go dating? I'm talking about. I tell you what. After this, I reckon we'll get some requests. Could I pass on your number to these people? You might get some. Some oxygen out of this chat that we've had. People might say that is quite a pleasant lad. I'd just like to get onto that boy. Right. That's it. That's it, Tony.
I've enjoyed it.
Goodbye.